This is Holding Left Edge with Christian and Simon.
Nice.
Sexual.
We're going.
We are back again. Howdy.
Right, we're hot.
Yeah.
I'll start with an M. I'm going to start again. Welcome to episode 12 of Holding Left Edge, the UK shooting podcast that deals with the spin. I'm Simon.
I'm Christian.
Seamless.
As ever.
And we did a thing.
We did quite a big thing.
We did a thing, didn't we? So this is us coming on to talk about a thing. I'm taking my hat off. I can't do hats indoors. I don't know how you do it. I've got all this behind.
Well, that's the giveaway, isn't it? The background.
Yeah, there's a clue in the what you can see in front of you. Welcome along for another episode where normally we talk about what other people are doing and a little bit about what we do, but this one's entirely about what we're doing, pretty much. Those of you that are not under a rock somewhere, that are on social media will have seen lots of chatter recently, last couple of weeks, about NRL Hunter coming to the UK. Now, what we've had for the past few weeks is lots of people asking us questions. So we thought we pulled together a podcast where we can explain where it's come from, where it's going, and signpost people towards some of the stuff we're doing that hopefully will make it all make a bit more sense. So, yeah, we did a thing.
Absolutely. And I think it was something that when we look back on the past 4 years, maybe, we'd probably say we were building up to it without realising we were building up to it.
I think if we're being completely candid, you and I got into shooting on the side of a hill somewhere.
Mm.
We made that transition that most hunters do and getting onto ranges and shooting targets, and then kept a little bit of the hunting dream going, because in this country, unlike some other countries, it's not very easy to get up and down the country. And you move house. I moved house. I moved up to North Yorkshire, and all my dynamic for hunting changed. Yeah, I'm a bit closer to syndicate land up in Scotland, but all the stuff I had in place locally just went. So it's difficult to keep up hunting if you've also got target shooting on your list of things to do. So for me personally, I always pined to get back and do a lot more hunting. And target shooting was taking up a lot of my time. So I think it starts back there. That's where you start it, that we've come from a background in hunting first and foremost. We found ourselves very prominent in the target shooting industry.
Mm.
And like you say, we've been talking about Hunter for years. We've talked about it on podcasts, and when we've been doing other things, it's always been something that we've talked about as a very far, far away place. And then it just sort of came crashing inwards a few months ago, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, personally, I'm quite lucky that I've got a job that allows me to be able to go out most mornings whenever I want to go and do a little bit of hunting, even if it's just pest control on the rabbits or foxes, whatever it might be. I get to do deer stalking a little less often, and yeah, the precision rifle stuff that I fell into through the GBPRA later as a competitor myself. Although I've enjoyed it, it sort of took me away from the hunting a bit. And if anybody asks me, I'll always say my first love is hunting. And if I could only do one, hunting or target sports, then absolutely I'd choose hunting. So it's great that we've now got this new venture, this new adventure that we can combine the two.
And for the people out there that are wondering how it happened, because a few people have asked how it came about, we're very fortunate. We spend a lot of time up and down the country shooting. Some of the big range operators are people we class as friends, and we have quite, the conversation you have with friends where you talk up to nonsense and kick stuff about, and there's no thing you can't say to someone. It's a safe environment for talking about stuff. And it was through a chance conversation off the back of us always fondly thinking about, hunting, and we knew what NRL Hunter was in the States. How can you not? It's such a well-run and well-marketed enterprise that, if you're on social media, you can't miss it. And I'd watched the videos and thought it was fantastic. And in fairness, it was down to Mark Gardner up at Gardner's Guns, who we know very well. And we were at Doncaster Shooting Show, weren't we? We were at the stand at the show. And purely out of random conversation about, I want to say it was off the back of a conversation about the IPRF Worlds in August at Cameo, and something that happened there and something that was said. And he just randomly said, well, we should really have a look at that Hunter thing we've always been talking about. And we just said, yeah, that's a great idea. And we sort of spoke about it for 20 minutes or so and then forgot about it. And then it wasn't until afterwards it done. And as we were like, he's absolutely right. Now's the time to do it. And it sort of spun off at a rate of knots since then.
I don't think we've actually said, for those that don't follow us on social media, what it is that we're talking about tonight. And that is myself and Simon. We've now taken on the franchise, it's probably the best way to describe it, for NRL Hunter in the UK. So we have set up National Rifle League Hunter, United Kingdom, and we're going to be putting on 8 Hunter matches in 2025, 4 centre fire and 4 rim fire, all across the United Kingdom. And yes, that did come about because Mark Gardner, who you have to credit Mark in terms of always looking for something new that he can bring to his range in terms of a competition style, had a conversation with us at Doncaster, and just ignited something, didn't he?
Yeah, it's since then we've found ourselves, like anything, if you're not listening for something, it's hard. You don't pick it up automatically. We found ourselves tuned into the community that we're now working towards putting on matches and training for. And that community is very, very clear in what it wants, in that this has been a gap for a long while. There are other competitions out there or other disciplines out there that I've done in the past that have an element of it, sporting rifle when I was at Diggle, great events run there, running boar, but nothing that's ever been, firstly, a hunter focused training exercise, be it a competitive match or a genuine training session, or something that is nationally consistent up and down the country. So what you get at one event is what you get at another event, which for me has been one of the biggest issues with every organisation in the country. You've heard me, if you're listening, watching in podcast land, you've heard me talk about the North-South split with the NRA. If you want to do anything with the NRA, unless you can find a club that speaks fluent NRA, then you're going down to Bisley, which is a fantastic place, and we love it. We're there as much as everyone else. But you don't get consistency. We've seen it in precision rifle. You'll get events run very well in certain places, but they don't translate or transfer. We saw some more consistency in PR22 under the GBPRA, where events started popping up and clubs started running events, and you saw some consistency in that. But for the Hunter, there was nothing. So when we sat down and looked at it, and we thought, well, how do you go about this? And all of us, and I say all of us because there was Zoom calls with various industry people and strong personalities. The consensus was that if you're going to do this, it's got to be national, it's got to be consistent, and it's got to be NRL Hunter to the American model. Now, we had lots of back and forth about this, and there was some valid arguments for independent this and running events independently, all those sorts of things. And we found ourselves unable to get away from the single fact that unless this is done properly, it's either going to fail or it's going to struggle to gain the traction that it deserves. So after conversations with all the main range operators in the UK and some sage advice from people in the industry, Christian and I decided to sort of be quite bold and say, well, we'll look to take this franchise on and do it under the NRL Hunter model from America. And next thing I know, we're on a Zoom call with Travis Ishida, who's the founder of NRL Hunter in the States.
Yeah, and what an interesting call that was. I mean, it was great meeting Travis. He's quite the personality on YouTube. I've been watching Travis, on videos, whether it's NRL or NRL Hunter, for five years now. It must be. So actually meeting him virtually in person felt like it wasn't the first time I was meeting him. But we had a very, very grown up conversation about why we felt NRL Hunter was the right thing for the UK, and how we felt that staying true to the NRL format, we would be able to make some slight amendments, slight tweaks to bring it to the UK. And yeah, we've got a calendar now of events, starting with a match 1st and 2nd of February near on Humberside, another match 1st of March up in Scotland, one rimfire, one centrefire, and we're building a website. We've got the social media all in place. It's all happening, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And they're the only dates that we've confirmed. I'd like to think we'd have a couple more dates on by the end of this year. I say the end of this year, that's 10 days away. The venues are up and down the country, both for centrefire and for rimfire. People will just forgive us for not rushing to lob them all out at the moment.
Yeah.
One of the big things that we said was very important to us was that we deconflicted our calendars with other people. Now, in the past, that's not happened. And there's been people at cross purposes and people trying to achieve things in what can only be described as a disconnected manner. So for us, we've been speaking to all the range operators, getting all the calendars, speaking to the other match operators up and down the country that we have potential to overlap with, which we don't want to do. Whilst we accept that there's a different discipline or different flavour of dynamic target shooting, we still understand that it's going to draw from a similar pond. So it would be a massive mistake on our part if we try to run events too close to other people's. It's just not the way it goes about it. It puts the customer in a difficult position, the shooter in a difficult position, and us in a difficult position. So we're working hard to get all that deconfliction done, and also try and make sure that the events are located nationally or wherever they are in the country based on some sort of flow. So it's not everything's up north, everything's down south. Try and mix it up a bit.
And we anticipate that a fair number, not all, but a fair number of the target shooters out there shooting precision rifle type matches will, who are also hunters or not hunters, but appreciate a different format and will look forward to shooting in a different format of target shooting competition. So we do expect some crossover there. However, what we are very, very hopeful for is that a lot of hunters who don't shoot target competitions will now come and join in the hunter matches, get their first taste of steel target competitions, and will want to branch out from there and try other disciplines as well. And we actually think that this isn't about dipping into one particular pool of shooter that exists right now, but it's actually about bringing a broader cohort of people into the sport, and that can only be good for target shooting in the UK.
And in terms of that, we're doing centrefire and rimfire. I know we mentioned it briefly before. Rimfire is the way to. People say, "Oh, it's a big growth area," and it's massive already in the UK. Rimfire. When we talk about people shooting a new discipline with rimfire, there's an element of, well, you need a new rifle, you need a new this. Varmint rimfire shooters in the UK is probably accounts for the biggest amount outside of shotguns. Accounts for the biggest amount of shooters in the UK. People that have got a rabbit in 2.2 from my experience as an RFD and speak to people at shows and people I know, and the fact that I've been an FAC holder and what have you, the 2-2 hunting community is massive already. We'll be doing rimfire and centrefire. Centrefire, like Christian said, those people that haven't ever shot a competition before, who are more than capable when it comes to hunting ethically and knocking down deer and what have you. It gives them something new. But what we're also going to do, aside of competition, and immediately a lot of people when they hear competition go, "Oh, competition! I'm not too sure I want to be out of my comfort zone." We've got plans for that, but it's really important for us as well that we have, as well as establishing a network, a national network of competitions, we establish a national network of training, which is, I think, actually more important than the competitive side of it. There's lots of people out there trying the hardest to do some training and trying to make it worthwhile. We are very much focused on the ethical importance of competent shooting in the hunting world. And it's not just a matter of matches with all the pizzazz. It's about identifying the proper coaches and the proper structures and the proper venues to put on training that has credibility with the community. Now, we're not going to, there's a whole other podcast about training because there's people speaking to about it now and the things we've got. I think the plans we've got, people will be quite buoyed by, but it's about that whole network. There are people that might only ever want to just get involved in training so that they can feel more competent when they go out on live game. And there are people that want to come and take part in a competition that's based on a sport that they love, i.e. hunting, but want that competitive element and to test themselves and to push the boundaries. You'll hear Christian talking about 400, 500 yard shots you would never take if you were in a live hunting environment, but you want to test yourself and see whether you can if you wanted to. I mean, in America, they're shooting out far further than that because the dynamic in America is different to here. So there are people that will want to come to test themselves and engage steel simulated game at a distance they wouldn't want to engage real game at. So there's that whole challenge. So that network's really, really important. It gives everyone an opportunity, no matter where they are, to do whatever they want.
And just because you come to a match and, you know, shoot a target at 500, 600 metres or further, doesn't mean that you're necessarily the next day going to go out into the field and shoot a deer at that distance. But maybe you'll have, from that experience, learned something about your capabilities and how you need to maybe improve your marksmanship skills. And that would just make you more successful at the ranges that you're already comfortable shooting at. We're not proposing this as a way to start hunting long range. It's just about improving your skill set.
And we've all been there. I certainly have been that guy that's gone overseas to shoot in a different style before. And for me, looking at how some of the American hunting's done, you know, canyon wall to canyon wall at some serious distances, that's not something you can train for in the UK. Well, you can now because hopefully we're going to provide that facility so people can utilize a skill or develop a skill that they might not need in a one-dimensional fashion, but there may be a purpose for them to do it. And put a bit of time into it, you know, doing it against a clock, having to engage your brain. And Christian, there's a whole other podcast about how a stage is set up and how you go through things, but it's to tax people. It's not about a counting exercise like some people have been quite critical in the past of other disciplines, and it's about keeping count. This is about genuinely simulating getting onto the side of a hill, knowing there's something there, having to find it, having to range it, having to position yourself, having to think about moving for follow-up shots, the stuff that you would see when you're out hunting, stalking in real life. So,
and you, sorry, just quickly, you might be a very, very accomplished stalker, and this isn't necessarily about us teaching you something. You've probably got a lot more to teach us about stalking than what we could ever teach you. But it's about putting yourself into an environment where you might not be taught something by somebody, but you might actually have an opportunity to learn something about yourself just by putting yourself in that situation that you don't normally encounter. Whether that's because of the distances that you're going to be expected to shoot at these competitions, or whether it's because of the type of equipment that you may decide you need to explore using that you've maybe never used before. Tripods versus quad sticks, for example, would be a great thing for somebody to look at.
And you said about equipment and rifles, and there's a lot of what we saw, and like anything, will we always be open about the journey that's got us to here now. We saw a lot of people immediately recoil. Oh my goodness, it's going to be this. It's going to be an arms race, a gear race. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. So we've made some distinct changes to the rules. The provisional rules at the moment, 'cause we've not released them yet, but we think where we are with the rules, and we're currently speaking to the right people about just making sure that what we think makes sense to allow everyone to take part, irrelevant of rifle setup, with the exception of caliber. There's a caliber restriction. You can't be lobbing 338s around and stuff like that. But trying to make it as accessible as possible. We intentionally launched it and then took a step back to see what the community was going to say. And the feedback we were hearing on forums and what have you, and direct conversation with people, was exactly what we were expecting. We knew how we needed to tailor the American package to the UK market. We also know firsthand, having been fortunate to run clubs and organisations, shooting events, and we've match directed and we've RO'd and we've done all those things. We know what competitors want, and we know that you can make something too soft, but ultimately that element of competition's got to be real.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a good point now, and we're at a point when we can start to roll stuff out. We'll talk more in the future about the membership and how we can make that community work for itself, and how people can see tangible benefits of being part of the NRL Hunter UK community. We'll talk about sponsors and some of the great sponsors we're working with already and talking to, and some of the great developments in that area. We'll talk about the ranges and the venues. We're very fortunate again to have really good relationships and with these ranges and range operators, and be able to run consistent matches up and down the country. And as time goes on, we'll see where it goes. We've been very open and honest with our counterparts in America that this is new and we need to develop it, and we need to have the flexibility to see where it goes. We've been supported in bringing in some rimfire element, which isn't in America. It is in America in certain ways, but under the traditional NRL Hunter model, there is not a rimfire section. So we've been supported by Travis and the team over there in bringing that to the UK and seeing where that goes. And all exciting times, mate. Lots to look forward to.
Yeah, but absolutely fundamentally, come along to an NRL Hunter UK match, and it will be very, very familiar with the matches that you may have seen on YouTube from America. We're not making any changes to that rules set or format that is fundamental. What we're doing is we are just making some slight adaptations to make it more inclusive for as many people in the target and in the hunting community, just to make sure that in the first year people see an opportunity to come along, join in, and then we can together see where it goes and how it then needs to develop for the future to make it right for our hunting community in the UK.
And our hunting communities in the UK is the yardstick. It's unlike anywhere else in the world. We've, between us, been fortunate to shoot pretty much everywhere in the world that's not got snow on it, which is on the list. We do need to shoot somewhere in the snow.
We might have that in February, March. We'll see.
Well, I mean, all the time. So we know how each shooting community differs from country to country based on a combination of societal issues, legislation, geography. You can do everything 100 times in America before you get bored of it, whereas we're lucky if we can do some of those things 3 or 4 times in a year. It's a vast country, as is Australia and South Africa, so they have completely different dynamics to work with. And it was great because the team from America, NRL Hunter UK team in America, they understood that, and they understood that we needed to make it credible with the UK community and also give it a UK flavour. So sticks was the first thing. We knew it was coming. We had a conversation, and it wasn't no amount of time before we started getting people from our shooting community saying, well, I can't use sticks. Well, you absolutely can. We've changed the rules to make you use sticks. Well, I can't do this. You absolutely
we haven't changed the rules. We haven't had to change the rules to make it possible for somebody to use sticks in the match. use sticks instead of a tripod. We're just gonna have to be mindful that people are going to be turning up with sticks and not with tripods, and we just need to make sure that we don't do anything that makes that overly onerous on the person that's decided to turn up with a set of sticks. But equally, there's advantages to shooting with sticks. There's advantages to shooting with tripods, and what we'll hope is that people will try and experience both. Again, it's about exposing yourself to equipment that maybe you've never used before, because you want to be successful at the match. You want to get the most out of it as a competitive and a learning experience, and and you build your skill set.
And you say about using kit that you're not used to or you need some experience with. For those that haven't realised already, this is what you can carry this. Christian's already done a YouTube video talking about the kit you're going to need. We were up in Scotland last week doing the first of a number of recce's for the event we're in March, and Christian was purposefully wearing what he's going to be wearing for the competitions and what people would have. And for a lot of people, that's a mindset change. There'll be no lugging your kit around everywhere. It's not like another discipline where you can just drop all your kit at the firing point and then you can go back and forth and get your sandwich out and all that. This is a dynamic, moving feast where you've got to start thinking about the kit you've got, because if you can't carry it, you can't use it. Christian talks in the YouTube video he did about a lightweight bag as opposed to heavy bags, which for me is something that strikes with me. I've used both over the years for different purposes. Equally, I've used myself and Christian use tripods on sticks, depending where we are. So you'll have to make that decision. And it's going to make people rethink how they set up for matches. And for those out there who are regularly hunting and stalking and understand this entirely, you have to plan very carefully for what you can carry. The only thing that's going to present differently is the firearm, is the rifle. So we've got distinct categories based on weight. However, there's people that immediately said, well, my rifle's too heavy for any of those categories. So we've done some work around what's called the skills division to try and allow people to shoot no matter what. And we think we're pretty much there with that. Mm-hmm. And we look forward to telling people about that in more detail, because this is all about including everyone. Anyone that wants to shoot with the kit they've got can shoot. That's our mantra.
And likewise, the stalker with the super light hillside dedicated stalking rifle with an 8-power fixed power scope. We want to make it accessible for you guys as well.
Those who follow me on social media will see I put my Bergara crest up earlier today. What will be my NRL Hunter? It factory and open light. It ticks both boxes because of the weight of it. Carbon Bergara with lightweight vortex, hunting optic on it, moderated Spartan bipod, off to the races. It ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
So I'll be championing that pure and lightweight, but there's people that will be coming with all sorts of. It's going to be great. There's going to be a really mixed bag, but the beauty is there is no cut off. There is no. If you want to shoot, you bring what you've got. As long as it fits in with caliber restrictions, you're good to go. And that's
a maximum caliber restriction, because what we don't want to do is we don't want anybody breaking our steels. We're investing a lot of money, a lot of our money in producing animal silhouettes.
Yeah.
So when you come to our matches, it's going to feel as realistic as it possibly can. Simon, we're sort of half an hour in now already, I think, and we're starting to talk in a level of detail that maybe we want to save for future episodes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've tried a few times to stop us talking about things that are going to be.
I know, but we're excited about it, aren't we?
We are excited. The key is we need to hear from you. We need you to engage with us. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I imagine we'll be on X and all that stuff that people don't use that much soon. We're on the stalking directory. We're on UK Varmint. We've got a website. www.nrlhunter.co.uk. Go down to the very bottom of it, and there's a place you can leave your details. You can subscribe ultimately to any information. When we do the releases and stuff, we'll keep people updated. So get yourself on there. But follow us on YouTube, follow us on social media, and talk to us. I mean, this last week we've had some phenomenal conversations on stalking directory being one. great platform, the most established shooting forum in the UK. I think got 30,000 members, and I love a good forum, me. And some of the conversation there has been fantastic. People who've been in there for years, who have always wanted this to happen, but it's not happened, and they've given us the views, and we've taken them on, and we've had some dialogue backs and forwards. This is your community. This is your competition. Get amongst it. Come and talk to us. Tell us what you think. There is no scenario where we want to make it difficult for people to get into this. So today I've been speaking to someone about where venues are and where the nearest venue is going to be. And if you're out there, especially 2-2 weeks, let's be honest, we know how many suitable 2-2 ranges we've got in the UK compared to centre fire ones. Certainly, if you want to start stretching legs, and we've had some really good conversations with ranges that are set up and run rimfire events. If you're out there and you're thinking, I like the sound of this, I'd like perhaps to run a match or at least training. Training's really easy. We can do that anywhere. There are, of course, some considerations if we're looking at running competitions, but if you're out there and you're thinking that, just reach out to us. We've already got enough to keep us busy next year, but we're certainly happy to try and spread that web a little bit wider and try and include some more people and try and make sure we've got that coverage in the UK. Because what we want to avoid is people having to travel too far and having to pick which event they go to based on geography and then getting a different experience. All ranges are different, no two ranges are the same, but if we can get a consistent product, so you shoot in the same reels and the same way with the same ROs and the same match director, that breeds consistency and it breeds variety. Some people don't want to shoot the same place week in, week out. You might want to get up and down the country and do something different. So that's where we come in to ensure that there's some consistency, which any business, organisation, association should be looking to do to breed consistency. That's the only way you can measure progress if you're all competing on the even playing field.
Yeah, exactly. So that website again is nrlhunter.co.uk. It's the first time tonight I've been able to say NRL and not tripped over it. If you're looking for us on Instagram, it's at NRL Hunter _UK. The YouTube channel is NRL Hunter UK. We're on Facebook, NRL Hunter UK again. You're going to have no problems finding us. Just NRL Hunter and add UK at the end of it.
Yeah, get onto the website and there's links to all the social media and YouTube and Stalking Director and everything on there, and a place you can leave your information so we can keep in touch with you. We will be dripping things out through the remainder of the year, the next 10 or 11 days. We will be going live with membership on the 1st of January, and we will be booking up for the events we've got coming and the ones we're going to be announcing in the not too distant future very, very soon. So watch this space. I think that's everything we wanted to talk about, really, isn't it?
For this one, yes, we will be releasing a dedicated NRL Hunter podcast.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes out for that. We're going to keep Holding Left Edge going because
don't worry, we're still going to get crazy feels like Heng on.
Yeah.
We've got some people from some of the disciplines lined up and people from broader within the shooting community. So we'll still keep well entertained on Holding Left Edge.
Yeah, we do have a lot of other shooting interests aside from Hunters, so we'll keep Holding Left Edge going, but we will have a dedicated NRL Hunter podcast where we can talk specifically about that series, talking to shooters, to hunters, talking about upcoming events, post-match reviews, talking about upcoming training events, hopefully getting some guests on from overseas as well. It's going to be a great, great podcast. So hopefully you'll subscribe to that as well when we launch it.
Good stuff. Right. It's been great. And here's to an exciting 2025.
And if we don't talk before, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks, folks. Take care.
Good night.